Be strong.
The system notifies that Pildu has activated the stigma of the militarized fortress and a lot of machine guns appear around Kim. Pildu warns them that they have trespassed onto private property. Kim starts smiling and thinks that he can't believe he's actually glad to see this message. The machine guns start firing at the masked men. They say that it hurts. The machine guns start turning into a fortress. Kim thinks that it is not a militarized zone but a militarized fortress. He can't believe that the Pildus's stigma level exceeds level 10. A small person orders everyone to charge, and an army of small men starts attacking masked men, and Pildu also starts shooting at them. Pildu appears from behind and says that it is his property, stop trespassing and get lost. The masked men say that they will retreat for now, and the small people start rejoicing that they have won and defeated the catastrophe. They start praising the goddess. Someone jumps down from the fortress. Kim looks at her and says that she has made a name for herself. Seong starts walking towards Kim and says long time no see Dr. Kim. She puts her finger on his neck and tells him that he is as ugly as ever. After some time, Seong explains that she got run over by a bus full of survivors while she was walking on the road. Kim looks at her with disbelief and says that it doesn't make any sense. Kim asks what about Pildu. Seong says that the same thing happened to him, but he drowned in the Han River. Kim asks if this is some kind of fantasy novel, and Seong replies that he must have forgotten where they are right now. Kim asks what this is about a goddess, and if she makes them call her that. Seong says that he always keeps babbling on, and maybe she shouldn't have saved him. Pildu says that they both are quite the pair. Kim is looking at Pildu. Pildu asks what he is starting at, and Kim tells him that he is sorry for not taking better care of him. Pildu says that he makes it sound like he begged him to take care of him. He asks if Kim's brain has grown smaller too. Kim says that he is just saying that because he is indeed sorry and thanks for saving his life. Pildu is surprised to hear that. Kim thinks that he feels bad because he cannot keep his promise to the defense master when he tells him that he will take care of Pildu. The system notifies Kim that the Constellation Defense Master scoffs at what he just said. Pildu tells Kim that he should start taking better care of him now. The system notifies that Kim gifted 5,000 coins to the Defense Master, and the Constellation Defense Master nods his head reluctantly. Kim looks at Seong and thinks that it is good that they're alive, although they have grown smaller. He suddenly wonders why these two forfeit being a catastrophe and choose to grow small. It is just not like them to be so selfless. Michio comes out from the woods and starts waving at Kim. He thanks them for saving his life, and Lee tells Kim that if it weren't for Pildu and Seong, they would have all died. Seong says that she is just doing her job, and Kim thinks she is brazen. She looks at Kim and asks what it is, and he replies that it is nothing. Jihai asks Seong which group she is from, and she tells her that her combat skills are on par with that of a king. Jihai says that she has never seen her before. Kim and Seong are alarmed. Kim thinks that they don't know that Seong was the first disciple and Jihai was hurt the most in Chungmuro. She won't just stand by if she finds out who Seong used to be. Kim tells Jihai that she's a friend of mine, and she has quite a temper, so she likes to travel alone. Seong is surprised to hear that. Lee asks if she is his friend, and Kim says yes. They go way back. They have been friends since before the scenario began. Ren raises her hand and says sorry to interrupt, but could she ask something? Jihai whispers to Kim that he seems good with women and asks if that pretty lady is his friend too. Kim tells her no, she's a Japanese incarnation he saved from captivity. Jihai says they are our enemies. Kim tells her that this scenario isn't a competition between Japan and Korea. It's a battle between the small people and the catastrophes. Seong asks Kim who she is and was she a character in TWSA 2. Kim asks if she doesn't know her. Seong says that she has temper issues, so she doesn't read crappy novels to the end. Kim thinks that if she has read up to episode 100, then she should know what happened. Ren asks Seong how she has conquered the northern area of Peaceland already. Seong asks Kim what she is saying. Kim tells her that she is asking how she ended up becoming a goddess. Kim thinks that he is curious about that too. Kim thinks that one day on Earth is 3 days in a peaceful land, and it has been a little over a week since they got separated, which means Seong has spent 3 weeks in a peaceful land already. She did manage to become the king of the prophets in just a week when she was back on Earth, so it's not strange that she became a goddess in 3 weeks. Thyong says that she told them earlier that they found themselves in the northern region. She and Pildu fell in the middle of Veronica Castle, while it was under siege. The first batch of participants from Japan had been attacking Veronica. She was just going to loot the dead and run for it, but then they started talking to them. Kim asks if she killed them, and she says of course, but she wouldn't have done that if she had known that she would grow smaller. Kim thinks that the kingdom of Veronica is on the verge of ruin due to the onslaught of catastrophes, and 2 people fell into the castle in the middle of the siege and killed the catastrophes. Now he gets how they could have looked like deities, and that also explains why the small people attacked them with such fierce hatred the moment they saw them. After some time, everyone returns to the castle, and the small people are happy to see that the goddess is back. Kim thinks that people of this world look like earthlings of the past. There aren't any swordmasters or ninth circle mages here, and on top of that, their abilities are restricted by the system that's in place. No matter how hard they fight, there'll always be the weak civilians of a typical fantasy who suffered at the hands of invaders from another world. Kim thinks that he knows whose work this world is. Kim turns around and tells Asuka Ren that he wants her to join the Korean group. Ren is shocked to hear that. In the morning, everyone is looking at their screens inside the castle. Jihai asks if they need to protect Veronica's castle until the scenario ends. Kim says yes, that is their mission, and he tells them that he wants all of them to help Pildu protect the castle. If anyone from Japan's first team or the Serpent appears, don't fight them head on. They must run, even if it means abandoning Veronica. Kim tells them to promise him that. Lee says that he promises and asks Kim if he is thinking of going alone. Kim replies that he will go with Seong and Ren. Seong asks which way they are going. Kim says east, where the strangely shaped rocks are. Ren tells Kim that Japan has already taken over that area. Kim says that he knows, and that's the reason why he brought her along. Ren asks if he trusts her that much, and Kim says that he doesn't, but he is hoping that she can pay him back to save his life. Kim thinks that they will get there in 2 days, and he needs her to tell her all the information before they get there. Seong asks Kim if he is going to look for the king of the catastrophes. Kim says that the scenario won't end unless they kill him. Ren asks Kim if he is saying that he knows who the king of catastrophes is. Kim tells her that he was hoping she would tell him that. Ren wonders if she could entrust these people with the information, and if she was to tell them, then how much should she tell them? Kim asks Ren how the White Demon King Izumi Hiroki became the king of catastrophes. Ren asks how he knew that. The system notifies Kim that he managed to deduce who the king of catastrophes is, and a few constellations have gifted him 500 coins for his amazing deduction skill. Kim remembers that Izumi was a supporter of Yu in the latter rounds, and he was very competent, but he decided to become a catastrophe this time around, and this was something that didn't happen in the earlier parts of TWSA. Kim tells Ren that they don't have time to worry about that right now, and it isn't important how he knows. Ren says that she is to blame for what happened to Izumi. She remembers that Izumi was against the killing of small people, but Yamamoto said that they would clear the scenario with ease if they became catastrophes themselves and started killing small people. Ren and Izumi were shocked to see that. Kim says that it was she who sent the dimensional carrier pigeon with the note that said not to kill small people. Ren says that the leader sent the other one, saying the opposite. Kim thinks that if they were to become catastrophes, they would have cleared the scenario much easier than any prior scenarios they experienced on Earth. Seong asks Ren if that's why she killed her teammates, and shouldn't the lives of her teammates come before the lives of small people. Kim says that there wouldn't have been a problem if Izumi had used the ruler's throne. Kim activates level 2 of the omniscient reader's viewpoint. The system notifies them that he can read a fragment of the character's thoughts due to his lack of understanding. Ren tells Kim that the power of the ruler's throne had little effect on those who had already become a catastrophe. Izumi used the ruler's throne and ordered Yamamoto to stop attacking, but that power had no effect on Yamamoto as he continued killing small men, and the idea of nations such as Korea and Japan became meaningless. There were only 2 teams, small people and the catastrophes, and for someone to control one team, they would have to become the king of that team, so Izumi said that he would become the king of catastrophes. Then Izumi ended up killing small people. Kim asked what happened after that, seeing how she was still alive. The throne seemed to have taken effect. Ren replies that it did, but something strange happened to Izumi. After that, Izumi told her to get away from him and run as far away as possible. Kim is surprised to see that Ren is afraid, even thinking about it. She tells Kim that there's no way for them to kill him because of his supporting constellation. Kim interrupts her and says Sovereign of 8 Heads, also known as the Serpent, and his true name is Yamada no Orochi. There's lightning in the sky. Kim thinks that originally Izumi's supporting constellation in the 3rd round was the one that cut down serpents, but now he has ended up with the serpent as his supporting constellation. Sayong asks, isn't Orochi a monster from Japanese folklore, and that's a very powerful constellation. Kim says that the Sovereign of 8 Heads signs a spirit contract with its incarnation, and in return for lending them immense power, they slowly take away the incarnation's ability to control oneself. Sayong says that it looks like they have their work cut out for them in this scenario. She tells Kim to go after him right away. He has the ruler's throne with him, so it will be over once they get him. Kim tells her that they can't do that just yet because the scenario has gotten a little more difficult than expected, so they will need some time to prepare. Kim says that they are headed to the area with the strangely shaped rocks to see someone there. Sayong asks if it is you, and Kim says someone is stronger than him. Sayong asks if someone stronger than you actually exists. Kim says that he is right, a powerful man who was born in a peaceful land. While traveling, Sayong asks Kim if he knows how weak the people here are. There isn't a single swordmaster here, let alone a decent swordsman, and as for magic, all they can do is start a small fire. Sayong says that they are like some villagers from an antiquated fantasy novel. It is as if someone gathered the weakest people in one place just to screw with them. Sayong is angry and asks Kim why the dokkaebi set this place as the stage for the scenario when they like stimulating situations. Kim tells her to calm down and says that this world wasn't created by the dokkaebi. He looks back at Ren, and she starts crying and says that she is sorry. Sayong is shocked by it. Ren tells them that Peaceland is a comic that she drew, and Kim and Sayong look at her in silence. After a while, Sayong tells her that her novel has become a reality, so she guessed that could also happen. She asks Ren if that's why she was against the killing of small people because they were characters in her comic. She looks at Ren and says that they got a real artist on their hands. She says that she killed them without any hesitation when they were in comic, but now she can't do it because they became real. Sayong asks Ren why she didn't make them a little stronger to begin with. Ren shouts that one can't keep creating the same stories as if they are being stamped out from the factory. Sayong is startled to hear that because she's a Korean fantasy writer who plagiarizes others, she tells Ren as if her story is any better. She tells Kim that counts in this world talk casually to dukes and not get her started on the knights. All of them are good for nothing pretty boys. Ren is embarrassed and she tells Sayong to wait. Sayong glares at her and tells her to shut up. She says that it is all because of Ren that they are going through all this, and she asks Ren if she begged the dokkaebi to make her world a reality. Sayong tells Ren that her comic must have bombed, so she wanted to make everyone who badmouthed her comic come into this world to die. That's probably what she wished for, and the dokkaebi probably said something like her wish was his command and made it happen. Ren says that is not true and asks how something like that could even happen. Kim thinks that Sayong has quite an imagination, so it's no wonder she's a writer. Sayong shouts, then what? Kim thinks that he is curious about that too. Even though TWSA didn't say why Peaceland was selected to become one of its scenarios, if he finds out why, then he might be able to find out about TWSA's author too. Ren is about to say something, but Kim and Sayong notice someone's presence and prepare for the attack. Kim brings out his sword and says that he is dying to know, but he doesn't think that they have time right now. Someone attacks them with shuriken. Kim tells them to run. Sayong asks when did they catch up to them. Kim says that they are very good at keeping themselves hidden. Ren says that they must be the Wind Shadow Squadron. It's a squad consisting of non-human species who worship Izumi. Sayong turns around and tells them that she will buy them some time. Kim asks if she is going to be alright, and she brings out her clones and tells Kim that he knows that she is a master at playing dead. Kim grabs Ren's hand and says that he will give it to her then. Sayong is fighting the Wind Shadow Squad. Kim tells Ren that they don't have much time, they need to find him. Ren tells Kim that she doesn't know what he means. Kim asks Ren to tell him where Returnee Kyrgios is, and Ren says she doesn't know. Kim remembers that TWSA only mentions in passing that Kyrgios is in Peaceland during this time, but he doesn't actually appear in the novel. Ren tells Kim that she has never created such a character and that all the characters in her comic are weak. Suddenly, someone attacks from behind. Kim thinks that they must be the few whom Seong failed to stop. He says that he didn't want to do this here, but here goes. Kim tells Ren that Peaceland's publication is on its 11th episode, and she couldn't even have it published in book form due to troubles with her publisher. Ren asks how he knows that. Kim says that he gets how badly she wanted to draw a comic in the classic fantasy genre, but her comic isn't a classic fantasy novel. Kim exchanges blows with the Wind Squad and tells Ren that after she sees how the readers react to her comic, she introduces a new character out of spite. He is strong, unlike any other character in Peaceland. Ren is shocked and asks how Kim knows all of that. Kim says that although he only appeared once because her comic ended abruptly, that doesn't mean she can pretend that he never existed. Kim thinks that she didn't like the comic she drew because that comic is what ruined her life. But when her comic became a reality, she couldn't bring herself to destroy the world she created with her own hands because she was once the god who created this very world. Kim tells Ren whether she likes it or not, this is a world she created, and all the characters here are her creations, and she should take responsibility for them. No matter how little, there are still people out there who used to read her story. The system notifies Kim that he has a high understanding of the character Ren, and she is touched by his sincerity. Kim is trying to protect Ren from the attacks. She tells Kim that he is right, and that she needs to beg for their forgiveness. The system notifies that the character Asuka Ren's attribute, creator of the Peaceland, has been activated. Numerous tree branches start protecting them both from the Wind Squad. Asuka grabs Kim's arm and starts running. Kim asks what is wrong with these trees, and Ren tells Kim to run this way. Suddenly, a voice comes from somewhere and asks who goes there. The Wind Squad catches up to them and suddenly gets struck by lightning and dies. The voice asks again who goes there. Kim thinks that it is the lightning and thunder of the White Storm, a voice that sounds like a constellation, a true voice despite not being one, a power so strong that it can turn catastrophes into dust despite being a small person, the most powerful returnee of TWSA born on Peaceland, Kyrgios Rodgrain. Kim thinks that most incarnations consider Constellation to be the most powerful beings in Starstream, but there are other beings who are powerful enough to go against constellations. There are demon kings who refuse their chance to become constellations, and even dragons who rule at the top of the food chain as monsters. If there is a question that humans could ever reach a level where they could oppose a constellation, then the answer to that question is standing right before him. Kim tells Kyrgios that it is an honor to be in his presence. He says that it is interesting they have sacrificed their own existence for the survival of another planet. He will let them live this time, seeing how brave they are. He tells Kim to take his friend and get out of his sight. Ren faints after hearing his voice. Kim thinks that returnees are the beings who were born with special talents and transcended their mortal existence thanks to the blessings of Starstream. Asking such brings Kyrgios blessed with enough powers not to be drawn into the magnetic force the dokkaebi scenario exerts on men. Kim tells him that he must have a word with him, and Kyrgios asks if he considers himself worthy of his time. When he is the White Storm of Paradox, he glares at Kim. Kim feels a lot of pressure and thinks that he is strong. Kim wonders how a small mortal person could be this powerful. The system notifies Kim that the personal skill fourth wall has been activated. Kyrgios says that it is intriguing. He must be protecting himself using some unknown force. The system notifies Kim that Kyrgios has taken an interest in him. Kim tells Kyrgios that this world needs his help. He asks if that is why he sought him out, and Kim says that is right. Kyrgios thinks that other small beings approached him for that as well. The system notifies that the small constellation of the little planet looks at Kyrgios with teary eyes, and the small constellation has gifted 10 coins to Kyrgios Rodgrain. Kyrgios says that he doesn't need it. The small constellation of the little planet is in shock. Kyrgios says that all things are due to expire someday, just as all stories must come to an end, and for this planet, the end is now. Kim asks them why he returned here when he had left Peaceland a long time ago. Kyrgios looks at Ren and says that something has called for him. Kim tells Kyrgios not to fool himself. Kim asks if he has not come back to protect his home planet. Kyrgios says that he doesn't have any fond memories of this place. Kim says because this is where he was born weak. Kyrgios is shocked to hear that. Kim says that it is the mother planet that brought him into existence in that cursed body of his. Kyrgios tells Kim to watch his words and not make him repeat himself. Kim asks if he is scared of those constellations who toy with his world and of that conniving serpent. The ground starts breaking under Kim, and he coughs blood. Kyrgios glares at Kim and says that if he wishes to die, then he shall grant him that wish. Kim tells him not to lie about the real reason he came here. He tells Kyrgios that he came here to watch this planet die, and he knows that Kyrgios is not able to use his full powers to their true potential because of plausibility clauses. Kim tells him that he wouldn't even have to lift a finger because he will defeat the catastrophe of Peaceland. He wipes blood from his mouth and requests Kyrgios to take him in as his apprentice. Kyrgios is surprised to hear his request. There's red lightning around Kyrgios. Kim thinks that is the plausibility storm. It must be because he killed those 2 Wind Shadow Squadron members earlier, and since he wasn't summoned because of the scenario, he will be under immense plausibility limitations even if it isn't as much as what the constellations feel. Kim says that the heavens must be asking him to fable a disciple about now, so take him in as his disciple, and he will defeat the catastrophe of Peaceland for him. The system notifies that the constellation prisoner of the Golden Headband is displeased with Kyrgios. The constellation demonic judge of fire is offended by Kyrgios's unjust ways, and the scribe of heaven is protesting his interference in the scenario. Kyrgios looks at the screen and tells Kim that he seems to have some peculiar fans following him around. He never thought that the proud Monkey King and Archangel would ever support anyone. He tells Kim that he is right that he can't save this planet alone because if he were to interfere in the scenario, all other constellations would also be granted the plausibility to do so. But that doesn't mean that he can just take anyone in as his disciple. Kyrgios looks furious and says that he doesn't accept outsiders as disciples, and besides, Kim is not qualified enough to carry on the legacy of his strength. Kim thinks that Kyrgios left his home planet and returned after so many trials and tribulations only to find himself too powerful to save his planet from perishing. Kim starts getting up and asks if this would be enough to prove his worth to him. Kim remembers that there is a hidden skill he purchased, and as soon as the second scenario is over, he picks up the stick from the ground and starts generating electricity. Kyrgios is shocked to see the white pure star energy. Kim remembers that white pure star energy is Kyrgios's famous technique. Kim takes a knee, holding the stick in his hand, and says let him introduce himself. He is the outside Dokja Kim, and he is pleased to meet the master of the White Storm School. After some time, Kim read information about Kyrgios. It says that Kyrgios was a returnee from a Miram world, and despite being a small person, he managed to pursue martial arts through hard work, and became the most powerful being in the world. He was sent to. Tales of his exploits are just as numerous as they are legendary. One example would be how he took the lives of all the worshippers of the evil cult who were taller than him, and the most legendary take would be when he befriended the Breaking Sky Sword. Seong looks at Kim and tells him that his cell phone has grown smaller with him. Kim puts the cell phone in his pocket and says that it grew smaller because he had it stored in the infinite dimension space coat. Seong says that he hogs anything that's good for himself. Seong says that she would have never imagined that the strongest man in the first Miram would be from a peaceful land. Kim tells her that it is not decided who the strongest is, but Kyrgios is very close. Seong says that it is good that Kyrgios accepted him as his disciple. Ren is looking at Kyrgios sitting on a rock. Kim thinks that it took Kyrgios 2 whole hours before he accepted him as his disciple. Kim remembers his conversation with Kyrgios. Kyrgios stepped on the ground and said that the White Storm School would have perished after he left. He didn't know that he had any surviving disciples, and he told Kim that he would accept him as his disciple. Kim thinks that he had them waiting for 2 hours just to tell them that. Seong asks Kim if it is his goal to return to Veronica's castle within 2 weeks, and if it would be enough time for him to master his secret technique. On the first day of the training, Kyrgios throws bands on the ground and tells Kim to put these on. Kim thinks that these are wrist and ankle bands made using Peaceland's special ore. Kim thinks that today must be his lucky day and puts on the bands. The system notifies Kim that metallic training bands restrict his body. Kim's hands drop to the ground due to the weight of the bands. Kyrgios tells him that those are the lightest ones he has, and while wearing them, he should repeat this stab 1,000,000 times. Kim thinks that is just a basic stab. Kyrgios tells him that the most important thing in mastering martial arts of the clan of the White Storm School is that they seek to expand the smallest point since the universe stems from one extremely condensed and tempered point. Kim thinks that he has no idea what that means. On the second day of the training, Kyrgios tells Kim that those who were born big like him don't know what it truly means to be small. Kim is practicing the basic stab and says that humans aren't that big themselves. Kyrgios says that he is right. From the perspective of the universe itself, all beings are smaller than a speck of dust, so it is wrong to call small people small. Even humans are but a speck of dust. Kim thinks that it sounds like he is overcompensating for his small stature with this theory. Kyrgios tells him that the smaller he is, the closer he is to the true nature of the universe, and it makes it easier for one to understand the essence. Kim asked what that had to do with this exercise. Kyrgios says, and that's why he doesn't normally associate with the likes of him. On the fourth day, Kyrgios is angry at Kim and tells him to focus. He tells Kim that if he was born weak, then he should make up for it by trying even harder. On the fifth day, Kyrgios yells at Kim and tells him that it would have served him better if he had been born an insect, and even a cockroach would have done a better job learning than him. Kim replies if there were such a cockroach, then he would like to have him as his master instead. After 2 weeks of training, Kyrgios looks at Kim's train and says that it is puzzling how he even managed to master the white pure star energy. Kim replies that he read a book of secrets and it just came to him. Kyrgios tells him to watch that mouth of his. With a weak body like him, he will end up as minced meat in the blink of an eye. Kim tells him that he has a peculiar way of showing concern for his disciple. Kyrgios tells Kim he is afraid that he might sully the name of the White Storm School. The system notifies Kim that his understanding of the character Kyrgios has increased. Kim sits down and says that at this rate, he will die from training before he gets to do the real fighting. Kyrgios says that compared to the universe, this time is nothing but a fleeting moment. Kim says that even on a small planet, the sun looks so big. Kyrgios says that it is also but a speck of dust compared to the universe. Kim says that many men have died on this little speck of dust so far. He asks if their lives are also nothing but a speck of dust in the perspective of the universe, and Kyrgios remains silent. After a while, Kyrgios tells Kim that he has not accepted any disciples for a long time. Kim says even if he did, he is sure that they would have all run away sooner or later. Kyrgios says that is true. Almost everyone who came to him was weak. Kim remembers that everyone in the White Storm School died in the bloodbath of the first Miram, except for the most powerful small person in this world, Kyrgios. Kyrgios is standing on a rock and says that all big beings are weak, so it is only right that they should work even harder because the scenarios he will be up against later on will be incomparable to anything that he has faced before. Kim tells him that people died even before scenarios began to appear, maybe over things that mattered even less than they do today. To tell him the truth, life was harder for him then because that world was even more absurd. It was like shackles that tied one down no matter how hard they tried to escape, so what he wants to tell him is that don't worry, he is not going to die. Kyrgios looks at Kim and says that he is a strange one, and Kim says that he gets that a lot. At night, Kim tells Ren and Seong to make a run for it. They are both surprised to hear that. Seong gets up and asks Kim if he has mastered it already. It looks like he was nowhere near learning it earlier. Kim says that he managed to steal it and transform it into pure white star energy. The system notifies Kim that Kyrgios has been added to the 5th bookmark. Meanwhile, at the Veronica Castle, a soldier shouts that they are coming. He tells everyone to retreat across the Doggy Bridge. A lot of monster catastrophes are coming to attack the castle. Pildu is angry to see that they have started killing small people, so he starts shooting at them and says that this land is his. Jihai puts her hand on Pildu's shoulder and tells him to save his mana. She asks if they think that they can just breeze through signals of the scenario. She asks Lee if he heard something from Sangha or Huiwen. Lee tells her that he thinks they're participating in a scenario that's being hosted on Earth right now. Kim said that there would be a scenario being held there too. Jihai says that means they are going to have to stop them. She asks how much longer until they are done with the trenches. Lee says that he thinks they are halfway done, and it will be filled with water soon too. The catastrophes started jumping over the trench. Jihai saw that some insects were flying towards them, and Gileong and Shin were flying on the insects. Gil signals everyone to prepare for battle, Jihai starts running, and Pildu orders everyone to fight and defend Castle Veronica. At the rocks, Kyrgios is shocked to see that everyone has left, and he is furious. Kim feels his energy and says that Kyrgios must have noticed that they are going. Ren says that they should hurry. Seong asks if she is sad to leave him behind, and Ren says no. Seong tells her that she gets it. This is the first time she has seen a character she created come to life, and he was quite a looker too. Ren tells her that she has got it all wrong. While they are running, Kim remembers that in TWSA, the phrase "as handsome as you" is used whenever the author needs to describe someone who is good-looking, and Kyrgios is the perfect example of that. Suddenly, Ren starts feeling pain in her chest. Seong asks if she is alright. Ren tells them that the sovereign of the 8 heads has started moving, and he's commanding all the catastrophes to gather at the absolute throne, but she can resist his command because she chose to become a small person. Seong says that she will go and see what's going on in the front lines. Ren tells Kim that she couldn't tell Kyrgios anything. She couldn't apologize to him for creating such a world that she made him suffer through such a tragedy. Kim tells her that she can't feel responsible for the lives that have already left her hands and says that it is someone else's problem. Ren asks Kim if he is also a writer, and Kim says no, he is a reader. At the same time, Seong returns and tells Kim to hurry up. Kim is surprised to see that the castle is under attack. Jihai has blood all over her face and she is in shock. She wonders what is going on. They were doing just fine until a moment ago. She thought they would be able to defend Veronica's castle. There are dead bodies everywhere on the ground. The catastrophes are trying to break into the castle. A soldier shouts that they are attacking the front gate. A catastrophe grabs the soldier, and the system notifies that Incarnation Michio used the skill Flying Squirrel Walk level 6. Michio jumps in the air and slashes the arm of Catastrophe. The Catastrophe is furious as he is about to punch Michio, but Pildu starts shooting at the Catastrophe from behind. The Catastrophe turns and is about to attack Pildu when Jihai says reload, and numerous battle warships appear in the water flowing in the trenches. The warships start shooting at the catastrophes. Michio jumps and stabs the catastrophe in his eye multiple times. The system notifies that someone has defeated the catastrophe that has yet to be named, and the main contributors are Pildu, Michio, and Jihai. The system notifies that a constellation that has yet to reveal its nickname shows interest in the Incarnation Michio. Everyone starts shouting in the joy that they can do this. If they keep this up, they can defend Veronica's castle. Jihai shouts at everyone to take the catastrophes down one by one. Jihai is shocked to see someone approaching the castle, and she says that there's no way they can stop something like that. The system notifies that the King of Catastrophes has received a scenario buff effect, and the penalties have partially been lifted from the constellation Sovereign of 8 Heads. The serpent arrives at the castle, and suddenly, a dead body files past Jihai. She is shocked to see that and starts calling for help. Kim arrives at the castle with Seong and Ren. Kim is shocked to see the serpent and asks what it is that thing. The system notifies Kim that he has encountered a renowned catastrophe. Ren is shocked to see Izumi, and the system notifies that the King of Catastrophes reveals himself. Kim is worried about his friends. He looks around and sees that his friends are fine, but they have lost their will to fight. Kim thinks that everyone here is now just prey for that fabled constellation to hunt down. The system notifies that the shadow of the constellation, the Sovereign of 8 Heads, has manifested itself in the scenario. Ren starts shaking and says that they should not fight him. Seong says that there's no way they can fight that thing. She grabs Kim by his collar and tells him that it's not too late. They should run away. Seong tells Kim that they still have time to save their friends and that they should go get them. Kim tells her to wait a little. Seong tells Kim that they are all going to die if they don't do something instantly. The serpent arrives at the castle and looks at Jihai. Kim thinks that he can never kill the serpent if he tries to fight him now. Jihai is too afraid to move, and the serpent is about to eat her. Kim brings out his sword and rushes toward Jihai to save her, but at the same time, someone jumps in and starts attacking the catastrophe. There's a huge blast. Kim is surprised to see that Jihai is still alive. Yu is standing on the severed head of the serpent. Kim starts grinning and tells Yu that he is late. The serpent is furious, and Yu jumps back and takes position alongside Kim. Kim looks at Yu and thinks that he brought that sword with him just as expected. The system notifies Kim that the constellation Sovereign of 8 Heads has expressed hostility towards them. Yu tells Kim to move, and he tells Kim that he is going to bring the catastrophe down himself. Kim says that he can't let him do that this time. Yu tells him that he is no match for the serpent. The system notifies that the constellations who hate humans are expressing their hatred towards them. The constellations who love carnage and violence are running rampant, and the constellations who hate humans are wishing for their deaths. Kim thinks that he knows a few of the constellations that are sending those messages right now. They are the constellations that joined the Baekhyung's channel in the 5th scenario and drove Shin to death. Kim says that he made a promise, so he has to take that thing down himself. The system notifies Kim that the personal skill bookmark has been activated. Yu asks what promise, and Kim replies that he promised that he would have his revenge on the constellations who drove her to death. Kim remembers that he made 3 promises to Shin for the 41st round. The first was that he would beat up the dokkaebi Paul to a pulp. The second was to bring her back to life, and the third and last promise was to avenge her death against all the constellations who voted to have her killed. Yu is surprised to hear that and says that is not a good enough reason for him to let him have the serpent. Kim thinks that he definitely knows what he means, but he is pretending not to know. The system notifies that the constellation Sovereign of 8 Heads has been angered. It starts shooting blasts from one of its heads. Both Yu and Kim jump to avoid the attack. Kim remembers that Yamada no Orochi is an evil creature that repeatedly appears in ancient Japanese mythology. At this point in time, there's only one way for him to fight against it. Kim thinks that it is just the shadow of the constellation, and it is still powerful. Kim looks at Yu and says that he managed to bring the Tatsuka no Tsurugi. Yu asks Kim if he knows about this sword. Kim says of course it is a famous sword. It was the sword that the ancient Japanese deity Susanoo used to cut down Yamada no Orochi. Kim thinks that it means Yamada no Orochi has been defeated before, according to the fable, just as it did for General Jaibeek and a million-year-old creature with 100 legs. It is their defeat that ends up being the greatest weakness of a fable. A voice calls them insolent insects. Kim is surprised to hear that, and everyone starts coughing blood after hearing that voice. Kim thinks that he's even using his true voice, and the system notifies him that the personal skill 4th wall has been activated. Kim says that it looks like he can barely talk, so he should just keep quiet. The serpent starts shooting fire from the mouths. Yu jumps on the wall and starts running. The system notifies them that Yu has used giant body transformation level 2. Yu jumps towards the catastrophe and starts cutting his head. The system notifies that the constellation Sovereign of 8 Heads is crying out. Yu starts shouting at Kim and asks if he is just going to watch, and doesn't he say he is going to hunt down the catastrophe. Kim tells Yu that he meant that he was going to get the last hit on him. Yu is annoyed and thinks that the giant body transformation lasts for only about 5 minutes. Kim thinks that he knows Yu is tired and wants to end this quickly, but it is not yet time. Yu starts fighting the catastrophe again and severed one of the heads again. Another head is about to bite Yu, but he grows smaller. Yu starts running, but he gets hit by the catastrophe. Yu activates the skill Tiger God Aura level 5. Yu gets blown away and the sword lands near Kim. Kim looks at Yu, who is bleeding from his head, and Yu shouts at him to help him. Kim says that it is finally time, and he will do it. Kim starts taking off his metallic training bands and tells Yu to just watch. The serpent is about to attack Kim. He pulls out Yu's sword from the ground and activates the bookmark skill. The system notifies Kim that the duration is 3 minutes, and he has a great understanding of the character, but only a fraction of the skill power will take effect as the character's skill level surpasses his. Kim thinks that is fine. Even a fraction of Kyrgios's power works for him. The system notifies Kim that this skill can only be used by small people. Kim thinks that there's only one skill he needs. Kim activates the personal skill electrification level 10 and jumps towards the catastrophe. He remembers that Kyrgios told him that the size of one's consciousness determines one's worth. This allows one to see into the depths of the universe even in the smallest things, and the origin of everything is all but a small speck. Hence, there's greatness in small things. Kim starts emitting electricity and moves at lightning speed to cut the heads of the catastrophe. The constellation, Sovereign of 8 Heads, is shocked by his swordsmanship. The system notifies that the constellation is questioning the fairness of the scenario. Kim asks if he shouldn't be the one to question the fairness of it all. Kim starts trembling and says that he doesn't think that he can take more than 3 steps in his current state. Kim starts drinking a power potion and thinks that he only has 3 steps left to kill that thing. A dokkaebi appears in the sky and says that it is unfortunate to see a great constellation, such as him crying for help, and the constellation starts crying out loud in anger. The dokkaebi tells him that throwing a fit won't get him anywhere this time. He understands how he feels, but he has used up all the probability that he has been allowed for this scenario, and they won't lend him their power anymore. Yu is glaring at the catastrophe while everyone else is unconscious. A few other monsters arrive there, and one of them tells the others to protect the king. Kim is surprised to see them. Lee and Pildu start getting up to fight the monsters. Something strange starts happening. The dokkaebi asks the constellation if he has lost his mind and tells the management center that they have a problem. There are dark clouds and lightning in the sky. Kim thinks that the constellation is going to gain ownership of Izumi's body through an unfair contract and expand his fable, reviving the white demon world. The system notifies that someone has interfered in the scenario system, and the dokkaebi is shocked to see that. The serpent says a mere human dares to defy the great star using a measuring sword. Everyone starts coughing blood after hearing that voice. Kim thinks that he can never beat that thing even after using electrification at his current power level. However, the constellation just made the biggest mistake of his life. Kim thinks that the star stream is governed by balance. If someone breaks their probability, then another person ends up getting it. There's blue lightning in the sky. Kyrgios asks since when was another world god allowed to interfere in this scenario. He says don't meddle in the affairs of his planet unless he wants to face him on this planet where his fable was birthed. Kyrgios attacks the monster in the sky and tells him to die. The serpent is furious to see that. Kim jumps in the air and he is about to cut the last head of the serpent when the system notifies him that the constellation sovereign of 8 heads has furrowed his eyes. Kim is surprised to see Izumi. He tells Kim to please end it and put all the stars to the test. Kim cuts the last head and kills the serpent. The system notifies Kim that he has killed his own species and he has lost the title of the King of No Killing. The system notifies that Kim has accomplished an astonishing achievement, and the blue blood of the serpent is everywhere. The system notifies that Kim is the first in this scenario to have hunted the King of Catastrophes, and the system can't grade the King of Catastrophes that have appeared in the current scenario. The system notifies that Kim has achieved a non-existent fable and successfully fulfilled the clear conditions of the main scenario. The dokkaebi is looking at numerous screens, and the system notifies that all the dokkaebi of the Seoul Dome and the Tokyo Dome will now enter into a meeting as Kim has completed an impossible scenario. Kim thinks that none of them will ever understand what it feels like for someone to give it their all, only to end up at the starting line. Kim thinks that the 6th scenario has ended, and he has finally arrived at the starting line for the track that heads for the ending he wants. The system notifies Kim that the star stream has acknowledged his accomplishments, and he has achieved a total of 4 fables, and he must now achieve one last fable to become a constellation. The system notifies Kim that he received 200,000 coins for his achievement, and the discussion for the main contributor award is underway. Most of the castle is destroyed, and people are carrying the dead bodies. A person wearing a hat arrives there and tells Kim that he must be the one who Michio mentioned. Kim is holding the recovery potion in his hand. Kim recognizes the person and says that he is Kazuki Takashi. Kim thinks that his supporting constellation has something to do with the Yamada no Orochi myth. Kim tells Kazuki that he had the hidden scenario for Tatsuka no Tsurugi. Kazuki says that you must have told him that. Kazuki says that he never thought that he would actually manage to kill the sovereign of 8 heads. He tells Kim that he solved a lot of problems for them and he will make sure to repay that debt somehow. Kim is about to put the potion in his pocket when Michio comes there with his injured arm. Kim tells Michio that he is sorry for what happened to Izumi. Michio says it was not his fault. Kim thinks that he is the one who killed his hero, so he must be feeling confused. Michio tells Kim that he would like to fight alongside him in battle someday once again. Kim is surprised to hear that. Michio starts crying and tells Kim that when they meet again, he will be much stronger than him. Michio turns around and runs away. The system notifies them that the constellation Snake Cutter has taken an interest in Michio. Kim remembers that Snake Cutter is the original owner of the SSS grade item Tatsuka no Tsurugi and Izumi's supporting constellation Suzuno. Kim wonders if he is thinking about supporting Michio in this round. The system notifies Kim that the constellation Snake Cutter has taken a liking to him. Everyone is drinking the potion. Jihai says that she thought they were going to die this time, and Lee says that he wasn't this scared even when his superiors came to inspect their platoon in the army. Yu arrives behind Lee and asks Lee why he didn't come with his group when he told him to. Lee starts trembling. Lee is crying as he looks towards Kim to save him. Yu is glaring at Lee. Shin hugs Kim, pats her on the head, and tells her that she did a great job. Gilliang arrives there and tells Kim that he didn't think it was difficult at all. He starts hugging Kim as well and tells Shin that he likes him more. Shin says that he doesn't. Jelenium tells Kim that he is very popular with children. He is covered in bandages and he bows for Kim. Kim remembers that he was one of the first people on this planet to fight against catastrophes. Jelenium tells him that they will be holding a celebratory banquet at the castle later. The castle is in ruins, but he would still like to invite them all. After some time, everyone is drinking, eating, and enjoying the party. The system notifies Kim that the catastrophes have forfeited the scenario. Jelenium tells Kim that he has brought all the alcohol they had in the storage as he asked. He tells Kim that he must love to drink. Kim replies that they have been hard to come by as of late. Kim remembers that the alcoholic beverages of Peaceland have low alcohol content, so he needs as much of it as he can get. Kim jumps on the railing and starts pouring the alcohol bottles into a large container. Kim puts the 8th head of the sovereign of 8 heads in the container and its 7th trail. Yu asks Kim if he knows of that hidden piece. Kim says that he doesn't call himself a prophet for nothing, and he tells Yu to give him his sword. Kim puts the Tatsuka no Tsurugi in the container. Jihai asks why he would dunk a sword into that precious liquor. The system notifies that the fables of the constellations, the sovereign of 8 heads, and the snake cutter have been fused. The alcohol starts floating out of the container, and the system notifies that the constellation artifact, the heavenly sword of gathering clouds, has appeared. Kim pulls the sword out and thinks that it is the legendary sword Amano Murakumo no Tsurugi. Yu grabs the sword from Kim and says that it is mine. Kim says that they beat him together, and Yu replies that he did most of the work. Kim thinks that he wasn't after the sword, but he can't lose a precious sword like that. Suddenly, another sword appears out of the alcohol. The system notifies that the constellation artifact grass-cutting sword has appeared, and Kim is surprised to see that. Kim thinks that names give birth to fables, and fables give birth to reality. Amano Murakumo no Tsurugi has 5 different names in the world of Starstream. In other words, there is more than one Amano Murakumo no Tsurugi. Kim grabs the sword and thinks that this must be one of the other 4 swords that are only mentioned in the name but don't appear in TWSA. Kim tells Yu that this belongs to him, and Yu tells him to do what he wants. Kim looks at the sword and thinks that as long as he has this sword that can also slay dragons, there is no need for him to be scared of any dragon species that he might come across later. Jihai asks Kim if he is done, and if they can have a sip of that. Kim tells him that she is a minor and tells them to have a taste. Everyone starts drinking alcohol from the container, and they say that it is just divine. After some time, Kim asks Yu if he is not eating anything. Yu replies that he has never consumed anything someone else made. Kim asks if he is afraid of being poisoned. Yu says that they are not delicious. Kim takes a bite of his food and says to let him see how good Yu's cooking is. Seolhwa starts smiling and asks Kim if it is good. Kim says yes, it might be the best thing he ever tasted. Kyrgyz starts playing the violin. Everyone is surprised to hear that. Kim goes outside the castle and sees Kyrgyz playing violin on top of the castle. Ren also comes outside. Kim asks her how she feels, and she replies that it is difficult to explain. She feels like she should never have given up. She wonders if some of her readers imagined an ending like this. Kim asks her where Seong is, and she says that she told her a little about this world, and she told her that she had somewhere to be. Kim wonders if she left to find the hidden piece already. Ren tells Kim that maybe she's also a part of the world someone else created. Kim tells her that things like that aren't important in this world they live in now. Even if someone like that exists, they won't let them know of such a thing. Ren tells Kim that she is jealous of the writer who has him as their reader. Kim thinks that he still hasn't found out about that writer himself. Kim tells her that, come to think of it, she once said that she created Peaceland, but she wasn't the one who called all these people here. Ren tells Kim that she received an email after the series came to an end saying that they wanted to borrow the world she created in her story. Kim thinks that this wasn't mentioned anywhere in TWSA. Ren says that she didn't think much of it then and told them to do as they wanted, but now that she thinks about it, all of this happened soon after she received the email. Kim asked if she remembered the details of the sender's email address. Ren says that all related emails were deleted after she replied, but she thinks it started with T. Kim is shocked to hear that. He remembers that email address and asks Ren if it was TLS 123. Ren says that she doesn't remember correctly. Ren tells Kim something, but he can't hear it. Kim is surprised, so he asks her what she just said, and she asks what he means. Kim activates her character profile. Her name is Asuka Ren, her age is 31. Her supporting constellation is Master of the Nighten Ikai Ryu, and her personal attributes are Creator of Peaceland and Comic Artist. Her personal skills include Kendo level 7, Pen as the Sword level 4, Plausible Footwork level 5, and Imaginative Stimulation level 4. Her strength and stamina are at level 55, agility at 49, and mana at level 54. Her overall evaluation is being revised. Kim is shocked to see that. Ren asks Kim what they are talking about. Kim tells her that they were talking about her comic. Kim feels a jolt of lightning and wonders what it is. Kim thinks that this is the moment when this world called Peaceland comes to an end, the final moment in which a story becomes fully independent of its writer. Kim wonders where these stories go once they are done. The system notifies Kim that he has come to know the planet Peaceland. All beings that be to Peaceland can now sense his existence, and the beings of Peaceland begin to write a legend about him, and the constellation of Small Planet is delighted by his existence. Kim asked Ren a few more questions after that, but she did not remember anything. Kim thinks that, unfortunately, it is still unclear who wrote TWSA and what it is they want, but now he is sure of one thing. The author of TWSA wasn't happy with how his story ended just like him, and that is the reason why he probably sent the file of his novel before the world ended. Kim brings out a tube from his pocket, which contains the ancient serpent's celestial blood. Kim thinks that he should help fulfill that wish. Kim brings Lee outside and tells him to guard him while he's asleep. Lee says just leave it to him. Kim pours blood into a drink, and it turns red. Kim starts drinking it. Kim thinks that it is the hidden piece even you didn't know about, a ritual that can only be performed when the alcohol made from orachi is mixed with celestial blood. The system notifies that the snake has determined that he has indeed slain a dragon, and a new attribute of 8 lives is about to flourish. Kim thinks that if this had not existed, then he would have never given up a great attribute like the king of no killing. Kim puts the glass down and starts shaking. Kim starts writing on the ground, and using his finger, he writes God of Alcohol and Ecstasy. Kim wonders why he is not getting any response from Dionysus or Persephone. Then Kim writes Father of the Rich Knight, and suddenly he is unconscious. Kim wakes up in the underworld, and a judge tells him that he can't enter the underworld right now. Kim thinks that he was lucky enough not to end up in Tartarus. Kim tells the judge that he came to report to the queen that he had completed his labor. Judge says that he knows, but he can't enter the palace. Kim asks why that is, and Judge says that he can't tell him that. He summoned him here using the power of the Father, but he can't allow him to enter. Kim says that he has a promise to keep with the queen, so he must go in. Judge tells Kim that he can't do that, now go back. Kim thinks that no matter how strong the judges are, they are nothing compared to Persephone, but seeing how they are so adamant, Kim asks if they are both away from the palace. The judge says that this is correct. Kim thinks that if Hades and Persephone both left the palace, then something big must have happened somewhere. Kim asks if they left any messages for him, and the judge asks why he would tell him that. Kim brings out a bottle of alcohol and tells him that if he agrees to help him, then he will let him have a sip of it. The judge starts thinking about it. Kim says he will just leave if he is not interested, and the judge tells him to wait. Judge drinks the alcohol and says that it tastes so good. He hands Kim a ball of energy and says that here is his reward. The queen has left this for him. Kim thinks that it is Shin's soul. Kim tells her that he is sorry for being late, and he tells Shin that there's something she must do in this world. Kim thinks that he is not here because he has sympathy for her. He just needs her help. Shin asks what he wants her to do. Shin tells Kim that he is so cruel, even worse than the captain in some ways. Kim says that he is sorry. Shin says fine, she'll do it because she wants to see the ending of this world this time around. Kim asks if she can endure losing more of her memories. She tells Kim that she is not scared because she trusts he will tell her the memories she is missing. She grabs Kim's face and disappears. Judge tells Kim that just because a soul leaves the underworld doesn't mean its body is resurrected, and it is also impossible for that soul to live inside a new body. If led by fate, they could incarnate, but this soul has sinned too many times and will not be able to reincarnate. Kim says that he knows and summons Bihyung, and he tells Bihyung that he needs his help. Bihyung is shocked to see Shin's soul in Kim's hand and starts sweating. Kim thinks that she has been dominated by the stories so far, but now she will be reincarnated as a being that rules over the story. Bihyung asks if Kim is going to make him do that. After some time, Kim and Bihyung stare at a ball of energy. Bihyung tells him to think carefully. It won't be as easy as he thinks. He tells Kim just to let her soul perish. Kim asks if he wants his channel to go down, and Bihyung is nervous. Their ball of energy is converted into an egg, and Kim inserts Shin's soul into the egg. Bihyung says that he can't believe this. He grabs the egg and says that he never thought that he would conceive a child this way. After a while, Kim arrives near Namwoon. Namwoon asks what he is doing here. Kim tells him to listen carefully, and that the thing he's building right now is not a robot. Kim returns from Tartarus and sees that the judge is drunk. Kim wonders if he finished the bottle of alcohol. Kim thinks that he was actually lucky that Hades and Persephone were not here. All he did was give Namwoon a tip, but since Namwoon is clever, he's sure that he can bring about a great change. Kim thinks that now he's finally looking forward to Gigantomachy. While climbing the stairs, the judge tells Kim that there is a message that the queen left him. Kim starts walking towards the door. Persephone says in her message that many constellations of the star stream have their eyes on Kim, and not all of them look at him favorably, so he should prepare himself. Kim wonders if they have been summoned because of him. He has been getting fewer reactions from the bigger constellations lately. The system notifies Kim that the constellation prisoner of the golden headband is disappointed in Kim, and the constellation's secretive plotter is consoling the prisoner of the golden headband. Kim thinks that there is no use worrying about that now, as he is walking towards the gate.